I think what it's kind of coming down to for this team is that last year they always found ways to win, and this year they always seem to find ways to lose.
Amateur Hour. Jeez, podcast. Amateur Hour. Jeez, podcast. Amateur Hour podcast on KC Sports Network. Amateur on KC Sports Network. Hour on KC Sports Network. Podcast on KC Sports Net. We're gonna talk Chiefs football for you, and you, and you, and you.
What is this, amateur hour?
Yeah, I ain't no Superman businessman like you. You know, I'm just a
Amateur.
I suppose.
Amateur Hour.
Is what's happening.
Amateur Hour.
Is what's happening.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Yeah, that's right, folks. The show is called Amateur Hour. I'm Ryan Scott Hall, and joining me today, my esteemed colleague, his Dirkness.
Stop.
It's a snow day here in Kansas City.
I wish. I've seen pictures. It looks beautiful. I'm stuck here looking at this lousy ass beach. Terrible. It's terrible. It just doesn't get worse. Can't get worse here.
Well, you know, the Amateur Hour podcast is coming to everybody a little earlier than scheduled, at least as far as the recording is concerned, here on Monday afternoon, December 1st. It's been a few days since the Chiefs lost on Thanksgiving, 31-28 to the Dallas Cowboys, putting our Chiefs now at 6-6.
Putting them?
It's been a rough weekend for me and for, I'm sure, many others. Dirk, what's your big thing?
Oh, my big thing. I got to be honest. The thing ain't feeling too big this week. It's a tough game for me to react to because it's the type of loss where I didn't want to hear any reaction to it because I'm just going to get mad listening to it. So, you know, I could sit here and bitch to you about pass interference for the next 6 minutes if I wanted to. But I will honor the Chiefs fan code of conduct that we all agreed to coming into the season, that we aren't allowed to bitch about the refs during the 2025 season. Although I sincerely hope anybody who truly follows me, listens to me what I'm actually saying, knows that I'm not a blame the loss on the refs kind of guy, but it's genuinely more about protecting the integrity of the sport that I love, the NFL, which is one of my very favorite things in this world, but has one very big blemish on its skin, which is pass interference and how it's officiated. Regardless, I could put this season to bed, have this little Chiefs funeral. But to be honest, I'm not ready to do a moratorium on the season yet. Not with this group. Say whatever you want about the 2025 Chiefs. I've watched the 2018 to 2024 Chiefs escape out of holes too many times to put this group down for good. So that won't be me today either. So I'm going to keep it real here. I think I lost my big thing. When I tried to bust it out this week, it just wasn't working. It was demoralized, just wasn't in the mood, which I swear never happens to me. I swear. So we have gone from calling my doctor because my big thing has lasted over 4 hours every Sunday for the last 7 seasons to now looking up medicine in the opposite direction. Need my big thing to work again. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs.
I get it. It was funny.
I'm with you, bro.
I got the joke. Honestly, man, I don't know if you caught Briscoe and I show after the Broncos game, but I said that it kind of felt like, they've been rubbing the same 2 sticks together for so long. It's not producing the, sparks anymore. They're not getting the same fire out of all the things that they used to do. I've heard a lot of talk about what went wrong against the Cowboys and what it means in the big picture. I just didn't really expect this to be the way the year went. That I think has probably been the hardest part for me. And really over the last few days, I on the show we did prior to the Cowboys Thanksgiving game, I told you that I just didn't really feel too safe. I didn't feel too comfortable. We had, pulled that game out against the Colts and kind of kept ourselves alive, given ourselves some breathing room. But I wasn't too convinced about this team. And there's a lot of reasons that, showed up against the Cowboys that are shit we've seen before. But there was also some stuff against the Cowboys that we hadn't seen before. And at the top of that list for me, I think, is really just this defense, particularly our 2 corners, just kind of getting used and abused most of the game. We can point to what felt like bizarre penalties and whatnot. But I think what it's kind of coming down to for this team is that last year they always found ways to win, and this year they always seem to find ways to lose. And it doesn't seem to matter what the way is, that they will find a way to lose games. And I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know where it comes from. It's obviously like not a part of the culture of this team or anything. But there's some stuff about this team that doesn't make sense. Can we look at some weird numbers? I got some weird ones for you.
For the game or for the season?
It's more like season stuff.
Well, let me keep it on the game real quick.
Sure.
Just because it felt like the other losses, there was always like something to point at, like a big mistake or something. But there was nothing weird about this game. I mean, we won the turnover differential, which we had done in another game and lost. But before that, we had a huge long streak of never having won a turnover differential and lost the game. It was just almost impossible for this team. So it's just like there wasn't really much of anything to point at. Like, our defense got their ass kicked. Some penalties helped them. Our offense couldn't overcome some penalties. We had one bad drop, one horrific decision to punt, maybe 2, which were mostly saved by great special teams execution. But other than that, it was just a normal game, which is weird for this team. It usually takes like just something to point at, like a huge mistake. They're overcoming that interception early against the Colts all game, and they eventually do it. The Jags obviously has that huge mistake within the game, the 100-yard pick 6. It's just usually it takes like some weird circumstance to point at for this team to lose, whereas this just felt very normal. And Dallas just kind of took it to us, and it was rare to see us lose a game like that. That's not like, quarterbacked by Josh Allen on the other side. And maybe Dak Prescott can just reach those levels that kind of Josh Allen can and kind of just go toe to toe with the Chiefs. But it was weird to see that nothing weird happened. There's nothing like, oh man, I can't believe they did this, and that's why we lost. It was just like we went out there and Dallas was like the better team. And Dallas isn't even a great team. I mean, they're still a game and a half out of the playoffs or whatever they are. So it's not even like they're this juggernaut or anything. It was just a pretty good team just took it to the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was hard to take.
If you do one of my favorite things, and I know people love to call it box score scouting, but I love to see the side-by-side team stats after a game, just to kind of see like where the differences are. And this is a weird one, as you mentioned. I mean, it's a 31-28 game, so you would imagine that there's going to be a lot of things that are very similar and big disparities on the day, of which there are not many. First downs from penalties, 5 for the Cowboys, 0 for the Chiefs. Not trying to lean into penalties, but it's a big disparity. And then beyond that, the passing numbers for Dallas are pretty impressive. They did about 80 more yards through the air, which led to about 1.5 yards, per pass attempt. Better for the Cowboys. They ran the ball a little bit better than the Chiefs did. But ultimately it's the one turnover that Dallas had that they were obviously able to overcome. The Chiefs forced the only turnover of the game on the opening possession of the game and proceeded to score a touchdown. It was the first turnover that they had forced in like a month. It was the first time that they'd scored on the opening drive in like 6 weeks. It had been a while, and the Chiefs got these things, early in the game, and they scored 14 points in the first quarter, and boy, you're feeling good. And they just didn't have it. They, whether they ran out of gas or once they were outside of the opening script, Dallas was sitting on a lot of the stuff that is just, Andy Reid's signatures or what. I don't know, man. I know that it sounds bleak. You said that it's one of those weeks that you don't want to listen to anybody. And a guy that's listened to our show for a long time, a dude that I feel like has a good, like, broad spectrum on Chiefs coverage, my buddy Armin, he said it's unbearable. Like, I want to be thinking about the playoffs. I want to be thinking about how this team is going to get in, and everybody is burying them. The season's over. And I think that, when Armin says that to me, where my mind goes is to this. We haven't had to think about regular season games for so long that now, we're the hoity toities, we're the high and mighties, and we're suddenly having to slum it in the cheap seats. We're in the hunt, and we don't know what to do with ourselves. The fact that we haven't, already sealed up the 1 seed with 5 weeks to go. The fact that the AFC West, for the first time in a decade, the Chiefs are not going to win the division, these are hard things to swallow. And I think for a lot of us, it's just turning to rejection. I didn't even like this team. I don't like them anyway. I didn't even think they were going to be good in 2025. Who cares? We're just mad.
Or it will do us some good so we can get the 13th pick in the draft.
We need a reset, there's a lot of, and look, the fact that in November, people are thinking about the salary cap, people are thinking about free agents, people are thinking about the draft. I mean, it tells you a lot about how the season has gone, but I think it also tells you a lot about. All right, guys, strap in, because I'm going to be critical of fans, and nobody likes it when that happens. But it shows how mentally weak we've become. Like some of the bumps along, like, bro, don't get me wrong. Like I've eaten my fair share of feelings over the last few days. I'm not trying to act like I'm out here on cloud 9 about the Chiefs, but like, there are still very real possibilities where the Chiefs get into the playoffs. And as anybody I think would admit, they would be an extremely dangerous 7. Nobody wants to play that team, period. but I don't know how many Chiefs fans have got that mentality right now. It's the woe is us. We're 6-6. This team sucks. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of how I feel. And I'm trying to like not feel that way. I'm trying to be positive and be thinking about, possibilities and paths for this team. But man, they surely haven't given us a whole lot to like hang our hats on and feel confident about this season. It's all about, what they have done, but not certainly what they're doing. And let's expand on that after this break.
Heather Luce, broker owner, KC Local Homes, and Emprise Bank has been a great partner for us. They're our partner in Possible. Debbie and I hit it off immediately, and she was one of the first bankers that I would say sat down with me and actually like genuinely cared about my story and where I was coming from and what I was trying to do, not just what kind of loan do you need, how much equity do you have, and she really kind of laid out my options for me and just made the process make sense, and I felt comfortable with it. Start to talk about it and think about it, a building popped up that I wanted, that I could afford, and it was in a great area. And so they really guided me through the SBA. I used the SBA loan to acquire it and really guided me through that process and made it happen. I think that we talk about that a lot, where we wouldn't have a business. We wouldn't have what we have here if we didn't have the clientele that we do. I've always functioned out of a people over profits mentality. The houses sell themselves, right? Like, I'm here to help people and facilitate the transaction for them.
Missouri, your moment is finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. Now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more, all from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. Missouri fans know game day. The tailgates, the noise, the passion. Now with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN. New Missouri customers bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code KCSN. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
So Dirk, I said that, it's almost like we're leaning on the past to make a case for the present, right? It's kind of where I left us.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there's nothing worse than like a woe is me Chiefs fan, because we have one of the 8 documented dynasties in NFL history. So it can't be like, oh man, poor us. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of surprising, like how good the Chiefs playoff odds were. I was kind of shocked to, I put everything to bed, kind of fired things up again yesterday morning once the NFL was going on. And I was like, man, what are the Chiefs playoff odds? And it was 43% to start the day, dropped down to 39% just because I think the teams that were expected to win won the games. So down to 39%, which is still pretty good. I was looking at 4-1. If they go 4-1 down the stretch and lose to specific teams, they still have a decent chance. So if they go 4-1 losing to the Texans, boy, that's not going to seem like we're not going to want to look at that reality, but they would be 40% if they went out from there. Or 4-1 losing to the Chargers is 43%. 4-1 losing to the Broncos is still 54% to get in the playoffs. So I was kind of surprised by how high that was, but there's still so much season to go. And honestly, I mean, I am old enough to remember when a lot of those same fans were, hosting a funeral for the 2023 Chiefs. I mean, who didn't put down the 2023 Chiefs during everything that happened that season, kind of culminating in the Christmas Day meltdown, which was, I stood fast with the Chiefs all year that season. And even I, after that Christmas Day game, was just like, okay, we've seen enough. I think this season is, it's fine to put to bed. And I think about 98% of us were in that same situation following that Christmas Day game. So things can turn around and they can turn around quickly. But it's tough. It's tough right now with not much going our way. Luckily we pulled out that Colts game, or else we would be completely done right now. So that's kind of like what has saved us right now. But they got a tall task in their hand with, injuries on their hands, and the Texans coming to town with the exact wrong time, which is kind of seems like we're playing a lot of teams at the wrong time this season. Texans really struggling early in the season, and now they are on the warpath. So that's kind of tough. But yeah, it's tough to get up. It's one of those you kind of just. It's why I didn't have much of a big thing. You just kind of wait and see, how they react. So, if they have to win this game, I will give them that grace because of their history. I guess I understand if you're not going to, because the season's been such a disaster. But you kind of just sit in your hands and wait until you see the team again. And it's like, okay, are we going to see any glimmer of hope? It's kind of like in that Colts game, Kareem Hunt fumbles. This is the fumble right now. And it's like, oh man, we fought back and here was our chance and we're going to right the ship. And then Kareem Hunt fumbles, and it's like, maybe now it's just too late. But you have Chris Jones out there firing up the crowd. You get a 3-and-out from the defense, and all of a sudden there's this newfound hope. So I think that's where, from that game, they're in that Kareem Hunt just fumbled, and we now need Chris Jones to step up in the defense to force 3-and-out kind of thing.
Let me give you some weird numbers.
Yeah,
Dirk. Here's the first one. The Chiefs have the best point differential in the division. They're really fourth best in the AFC in point differential. Last year at this time, the Chiefs were 11-1 at plus 54, and this year they're 6-6 at plus 73. How much you beat teams by doesn't matter. And the difference between last year and this year could not prove that fact anymore. So, still. Weird numbers, man.
Yeah, I think I saw, first off, fuck the nerds. I'm tired of hearing all this nerd shit about EPA and DVOA and all that shit, talking about how good this Chiefs team is. I don't want to hear it. Just like I didn't want to hear it last year when they said how bad of a team we were. I just don't want to hear that shit. So shut up. That being said, damn, I forgot where I was going to go from there. Damn nerds.
Well, every AFC North team has a negative point differential right now. I thought that was funny.
Okay, I was going to say there was some stat like the top 17 teams in point differential haven't won the Super Bowl or something. It's like the last 25 years. So it's just like we were kind of doing those stats throughout last year. That's like it's beating up on bad teams does not a good team make, but it makes the media just fawn over you. Like the Ravens, like the Bills. The Bills got even past that. It's like the Bills of old. The Ravens, definitely the last few years. The Lions, like the media is just like, as they're asking last year, what's wrong with the Chiefs? Why can't they be more like the Lions? Even Chiefs fans are out there saying it. Like, why can't they be consistent like the Lions? And it's like, this isn't what wins in January, fools. So it's silly stuff like that. It doesn't, I don't give it much merit at all. Beating up on bad teams is just... And it's not what this team is. I don't even think they're about that. It's just kind of happened. Like they just beat up on the Commanders 28-7. I guess that was fun. Beat up on the Raiders. Remember that game?
Yeah. Look,
Raiders.
It's the Chiefs are 10th in the AFC standings and third in their own division. And ultimately, I think it's largely just based on these one-score games flipping more weird numbers. The Chiefs have one win in one-score games this year, and last year they were like 12-0 or some crap, and now they're like 1-6. And God, it sucks to see the literal opposite. That's been a tough swing. Maybe that's the reason that Nick Wright had whiplash when he walked on set today in the neck brace. Nick now doing his best Broussard impression about how beat up the Chiefs are. I think people are trying to make the one-score games thing like the story of the season. And ultimately, I don't think the Chiefs had as much control as maybe it seemed like they did last year. And I don't think they have as much control as it seems like this year. And one-score games just feel like a mystery to me. And I'm going to use that just in the vacuum of last year and this year. They're a mystery. I don't know. And so who knows? Nobody knows anytime ever. Here's another weird number for you, Dirk. Your favorite stat, points per drive. The Chiefs are second in the NFL in points per drive right now. What the heck?
Sure doesn't feel like that.
they're second in points per drive, and they're 6-6. They're
So
also
I shit on the nerd stats. I guess I got to shit on my own stats. So fuck me too. Fuck all the nerds and fuck me.
They are also, and this is another one that shocks me. Maybe this is something that you could hang your hat on for the offense. The Chiefs are second in points per drive, and yet that's despite being 28th in average starting field position. Special teams probably had their best game of the year against the Cowboys. Yeah. Suddenly they were clutch more after being so bad for so long. And, it didn't.
What's up now? Where the haters at now, huh?
Didn't make a difference.
My Taub jersey has not arrived yet, but I was planning on wearing it this week.
Yeah. Here's another weird one. The Chiefs blew 3 fourth quarter leads in the last 52 days. They had not blown a fourth quarter lead in the 738 days prior to that. So that's tough. They also have another short rest game coming up. I don't know. Maybe people forgot. Maybe I just wasn't really realizing it. Or maybe I got appropriately pissed off when the schedule was released, but the Chiefs are playing the Broncos on short rest on Christmas Day after playing the Cowboys on short rest on Thanksgiving Day. Like, I know that last year they played on 6 of the 7 possible days in a week. They also played 3 games in 13 days and 3 games in 11 days. And now they're playing both major holidays on short rest the following season, in addition to starting the year in Brazil. And honestly, man, I'm just going to go back to, you guys are stupid. You're so dumb. Why are you stop saying that you'll play in a freaking parking lot? Just roll it out there. We'll play anytime, any place. No, we won't. It's no wonder they look exhausted. And frankly, it's no wonder that the fans are exhausted. Because you guys have taken us on this amazing ride over the last, however many years, I guess, of Mahomes, 7 years, 8 years. But if you just say yes to everything, to every possible ask that the NFL gives you, you're not doing yourselves any favors. And I am not looking forward to playing Denver on 4 days rest on Christmas Day. I don't have to suit up for it the same way that the Chiefs do. I mean, I gotta put my pants on one leg at a time, just like they do, but I'll be wearing Zubas. And
you're gonna wear pants on Christmas?
Yeah.
They do it weird at the whole house. So there's no way I'm putting on pants.
Those are some weird numbers for you. I have one more weird number if you want to.
Well, and I'll wrap on that one a little bit. I mean, it just it made me just think of like their laissez-faire attitude towards the regular season, which I think has, helped propel them to winning Super Bowls. I think that does help them. I've ranted and raved for years about the Janu Andy Reid shutdown mode Chiefs that are putting, they know they're going to be there in January. So they kind of save their best for January. It's almost like they had that attitude this year, but they're not going to get to January, or it's not looking good to get to January. So that attitude has kind of come back to bite. I mean, just I'm looking at the season here as a whole and just coming out against the Chargers in that week 1 game and just not being ready to play for a whole half, thinking that playing in the second half is going to be enough. Wasn't enough. Really just a ho-hum effort against the Eagles. I hardly even remember, other than we're driving down and then the Kelsey drop to win it. Just, whatever. It's just no sense of urgency. Just, we'll be fine. They rebound, lose a game against Jacksonville they never should lose. They play the Bills, are out here questioning how much they even wanted to win because their game plan was so wonky. And that they should not be doing that with the record that they had. So it was either incompetence in the game planning and execution that day, or they took this attitude way too far. Either way, it's unbecoming of what happened that week. Broncos game, that's a tough game. I think they're a solid team, and they just didn't execute down the end, I guess. I mean, they had them. They had the ball in their hands in the fourth quarter with the lead. I mean, that's a game you should win. They end up blowing that one. It's kind of just like it caught up to them, like this laissez-faire attitude where they weren't taking these regular season games as seriously as the other team. And now that they've tried to capture it back, it's been too late, and it's like it's not there anymore. Which I mean, I guess kind of happens. It kind of poetic justice for them, I guess, for the way they've handled things. But it's sucks that has come back to bite them in the ass.
Here's one more weird number. Against Buffalo, Noel Williams played 44 snaps. It was 2/3 of the defensive snaps that day. It was his highest total of the season. He was flagged once in that game, and at least briefly, quickly scrolling through, it looked like he maybe gave up a couple catches. Credited with giving up a couple catches, but did not look like he just had some terrible game against Buffalo. Chiefs then went on the bye week, and in the last 3 games that they have played, 0 snaps against Denver. Christian Fulton made his, what's that, regular season debut maybe. He played a whopping 9 snaps, but Noel played 0 against Denver. When they played Indy, Christian Fulton was active again, but he only played 1 snap, and Noel played 0 again. And then finally, against Dallas, somehow, and I don't know how this works, but with an inactive Christian Fulton and inactive Christian Wallace, and only 12 snaps from Brian Cook, another like 100% of the snaps player on defense, Noel Williams got a whopping 7 snaps against Dallas. I don't know what they're doing, man. I really don't. I feel like I'm just, and maybe it's because they're losing, right? Like they, we've always talked about how winning, erases some of the questions or the problems. It covers up some of the warts on your team because we won. And when you're 6-6, some of the little things, might start to pile up and piss you off. But I'm just like, I'm disagreeing with what they're doing on offense and on defense all the time. I'm constantly finding myself just like, what the hell? Like, what are you guys doing? And this is Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo that we're talking about, and I'm hosting a show called Amateur Hour. So like the dichotomy there, it adds up to a rough season, man, because I'm out here calling into question, their acumen and their genius. And there's a lot of fans. And don't get me wrong, like it's pretty arrogant, but there are a lot of fans that are like, has the game passed these guys by? Hall of Famers. And maybe we're at the stage of their careers where like that's a worthwhile question. Maybe I'm too gun shy to ask that question about 2 guys that I have way too much respect and admiration for, that I'm just unwilling to do that. I don't know, man. But the 6-6 of it all is making us collectively ask a lot of really difficult questions, and it's just kind of hard to keep going right now.
And it's really weird. I think there's a big conversation to be had here that, I've been watching football for 35 years, and I feel like all of a sudden this season, I need someone to explain to me what makes a team good at football all of a sudden. Like I'm out here, the Chiefs are down, the Ravens look awful, the Bills are somewhat rebounding, but not even rallying around their quarterback. They're winning in spite of their quarterback. And we're out here looking at the Broncos at the top, the Patriots at the top, the fucking Bears at the top, the Colts, the Eagles with their disaster on offense, but they keep winning mostly. The Panthers have a better record than us, I believe. I think I'm doing weekly check-ins on the Panthers versus Chiefs record comparisons here. It's just like, football just like turned on its head all of a sudden out of nowhere. And it's just like, I don't even understand what makes teams good. Like, I swear I'm watching the Bears. They aren't good, but here they are. They're number 1 seed in the NFC. I was like, what? And so, yeah, go ahead. I got more to add here, but go ahead.
A stat from my brother. Maybe this is making the rounds everywhere. But he told me this morning that the Bears are the NFC's number 1 seed at 9-3. And the 49ers are the NFC's 7 seed at 9-4. So the NFC is just, I mean, a bunch of 9-win teams, basically.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's just like a dead heat on that side of the conference.
I saw some odds, and it's 5 different teams have roughly the same odds to get the number 1 seed. It was all like between 12 and 16% or something.
I don't know exactly the AFC playoff picture. I mean, you mentioned the teams, the major players in there, but like I think where we're at with 5 games to play for most teams, nobody's good. Like there's not a good team out
which
there,
is what,
right?
which is A, what gives you hope if you can just get in, and B, what makes it so frustrating because we should be the good team. We should be the team that's like, oh man, there's the Chiefs and everybody else. Like that's how it should be going. That's a normal season. That's what we'd be looking at. It's just shocking. The season as a whole is just shocking. I can't believe that I would have put the odds at basically 0% if you're just telling me like Patrick Mahomes doesn't get hurt and the Chiefs are just going to miss the playoffs. With an expanded playoffs where everybody bitches that like these teams make the playoffs and they're not playoff teams. Like they're not worthy. They shouldn't be in here. They shouldn't have added a 7 seed. They shouldn't do all this. And it's like the Chiefs can't get that. They can't get like the handout 7 seed. So that's shocking. I feel like we're almost seeing, remember we used to be obsessed with the Russell Wilson days, the quarterbacks on a rookie contract.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like you either have a superhero at quarterback or you want a quarterback on a rookie contract. And it was kind of like Peyton and Tom Brady at that time. And then, but if you didn't have either of them, then you wanted the rookie quarterback. And then we kind of got Mahomes and Josh and Lamar, and it kind of swung back like, well, you just want one of them. And it was probably just a weak few years of rookie quarterbacks kind of coming in like draft classes. And now we're seeing, I mean, the first 3 teams I listed there are all quarterbacks that were drafted last year. It's almost like we're kind of seeing a return of these quarterbacks on a rookie deal and then build up your team around them. And we're seeing these teams with the top quarterback deals that cannot put enough around their teams all of a sudden. And it's like, because of the shift that's happened in the NFL, like the NFL was so pass happy and quarterback happy around like 2020 that everything started gearing towards that. Defenses started defending that the rise of the too high safety, and everything's kind of swung back cyclically to running the ball is what matters again. Defense is what matters again. So it's now back to kind of we can just win with a guy at quarterback with Daniel Jones at quarterback, with some of these rookies, or there's another mid-level quarterback that I'm forgetting, and just put the good team around them. Sam Darnold was the other idea that I had, a mid-level quarterback, and build up the team around them. And those are like the best teams here in this season. Now it goes to show whether that will play out in the playoffs or not. So it's still a big step to like kind of put that in cement, but all the best teams right now aren't like the top quarterbacks that we're used to seeing. And that's what's making this season particularly weird. And the biggest, team that's hurting right now is the Chiefs.
Great. Another thing hurting the Chiefs. We probably got a few more that we'll talk about after this break.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
So, Dirk, I think you make an interesting point before the break that the way that teams were built toward the end of that Brady Manning era, what led to the 2019 Chiefs? What led to your prediction was literally all about getting a quarterback on a rookie deal, And it felt like the cheat code in sports, because if you get a legit top 10 guy and you're paying him on his rookie contract, then you can load up on all of these other veterans in order to insulate your roster. And you're going to get a couple years there before the big money kicks in, where it's like the maximum opportunity to build up the best roster 2 through 53 that you'll ever have. Because once your quarterback starts making money, it's going to get harder. And it's almost like we lost sight of that a little bit, because we've talked a lot about how all the different factors that the Chiefs have had to face as being a good team, and that like cumulative toll over the Mahomes era of extra games and extra travel and all the picking at the end of the round and everything. But the financial aspect is obviously playing a big part here too. I do think it's interesting to see a Broncos team as well as a Patriots team with rookie quarterbacks. And those are the two best records in the AFC right now, I believe, the Broncos and the Patriots. And, behind them, you've got some paid guys, the likes of Josh and Trevor, but it is an interesting mix right now, but it's also because Patrick and the Chiefs have been so dominant, going to the AFC Championship game every single year of his career so far. It's really starved all of those other quarterbacks that are sort of in his class, the Josh Allens and the Lamar Jacksons of the world, the Joe Burrows even, of having much success. Joe, the only one that's even made it to the Super Bowl in that group. So it's like you don't believe in any of those teams, right? And so now it's kind of like the inverse of last year. A lot of people were looking for, I kind of want to bet against the Chiefs, but like they keep winning, and so it would just be stupid to do that, right? And now it's like, well, I want to keep betting on the Chiefs because they're the Chiefs, but like we keep losing. They're a bad bet right now. And I do think that, like, yes, hey, you mentioned they could lose to the Texans and still have whatever percentage chance of making the playoffs. And I don't think that any of these AFC teams, I'm not scared of any of them. Truly. But like Patrick, maybe with the most poignant line of the season so far, we can beat anybody, but we can lose to anybody also, and that's really where they are. They're an absolute, they're the definition of a wild card. And I hope that they get one. Could you see yourself in a scenario, Dirk, where you would become, what did Cousin Sal call him? He started calling them tank turds or tank trolls or whatever. It's like people that are rooting against their team. He's like, you have to root for your team. I don't care. Don't stop rooting for the draft pick. Stop trying to tank, like win games, root for your team to win. I think that there are already, like, listen, on this network, Only Weird Games, listen to it just a couple days ago. Nate Taylor of ESPN said the season is over, that it's done.
Great.
And like, I think we can all be honest. Is there a bigger voice in Kansas City sports coverage apart from very obviously Nick Wright? But we're talking about inside of Kansas City, like covering this team, a lot of people following Nate, listening to Nate, and he is declaring the season over. Is there a scenario? I don't know if it's this year, but like, are you ever, if Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, just hoisting yourself up on that and saying, well, I guess the season's over. I'm going to start hoping they lose because I want a better draft pick?
No, I mean, it doesn't accomplish anything. So you can say it does great. It doesn't mean they're still going to play the game. So, I mean, what are you going to be first? So if someone in week 1 was like, oh, this season's over, they were actually first. They were actually first in this discussion. No, I don't put much merit into that. I just don't.
No, season's not over, man. It's not. I do think though that there is an argument. I'm not going to argue that the season's over, but I wanted to argue that November of 2025 might have been the worst month of the Andy Reid era. And so I dug a little bit. I didn't want to say I dug deep, you know.
I don't think you have to dig too deep. I'm looking at 2017.
Well, I've got a few for you.
There's a month in 2017 that went real awry.
There's a couple, which helped. And so that's what I'm here for. I want to help you guys to realize that, hey, November of 2025 was really rough. All right. They had a 1-3 record. They went from 5-3 to 6-6. And I think what really is the poop in the punch bowl, to borrow a phrase from last week, the poop in the punch bowl is the fact that the bye was mixed in there in a 1-3 month. And we never lose coming out of the bye. And not only did we lose coming out of the bye, we lost to the freaking Broncos. All 3 losses in November by 1 score, a total margin of 13 points in those 3 losses, 7-point and a 3-point and 3-point. And the one big win, required this big comeback in the fourth quarter and overtime in order to win. During November, dead last in third down defense. I mean, bad month for the Chiefs and really all the hopes for the season, very, very dwindling, almost out the door. But I mean, in 2023, not in an actual month, but in a month's worth of time, the Chiefs lost.
Cheating. You cheating here?
Huh?
Are you cheating here?
No, I was just trying to find bad stretches, Okay. So in 2023, the Chiefs lost 3 of 4, Philly, Green Bay, and Buffalo, with the 1 win being against the Raiders. But if you stretch it out, it was more like 4 of 6 because they beat a bad Patriots team and then they lost to the Raiders on Christmas Day, as you mentioned. Bad stretch in 2023, and they won the Super Bowl. In 2019, the Chiefs entered October 4-0. They went 1-3, and Mahomes got hurt in that stretch. In game 3 of that 4-game stretch in October, Mahomes got hurt. So they were 0-2. Then Mahomes got hurt. They somehow won that game, and then they lost the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough to beat because that is a legit October month.
Yeah.
And even the only win in there, you lost Mahomes. So it's like there was no real wins because that was the biggest loss of all, was thinking you had lost Mahomes for the season. Now, I guess some good news finally came. I mean, we knew kind of like the next day that it wasn't that bad, but that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a bad month, but hey, guess what? The worst month in 2023 and the worst month in 2019 did not prevent the team from winning the Super Bowl both years. Okay. So I'm like, all right, maybe not the worst month in the Mahomes era, but I don't know. What about like the rest of the Andy Reid era? Well, in 2017, as you mentioned, the Chiefs start 5-0. They got to 6-6 after starting 5-0, finished 10-6, and then after scraping and clawing their way into the postseason, host the Tennessee Titans. Mariota throws a touchdown to himself and has the forward progress call on what should have been a strip sack by Derek Johnson and a touchdown return by the one and only Marcus Peters to send the Chiefs into the next round. But that did not happen. And how about this? Even worse than 2017, perhaps. The Chiefs won the opener in 2015, and then they lost 5 in a row, and then they won 10 straight to close the regular season. They eventually won their first playoff game in like 25 or 30 years. The Chiefs have had some bad months. November of 2025 felt like one of the worst months ever. It's not. It's not the worst month ever. It's not the worst month in the Mahomes era. It's not the worst month in the Andy Reid era. It was bad. It sucked. It's not what we expected. it's not even close to the worst month that the Chiefs have had.
Folks, let me tell you about a month in 2012.
Well, right, and that's
you want to see some things go wrong.
I was thinking a little bit about this team, trying to find a historical comparison for them, and not long ago, 2023, you've got the Buffalo Bills that were sitting at 6-6. They finished 11-6. They won the NFC East in Week 18 against Miami. They beat 3 playoff teams and 2 awful teams in their final 5 weeks. This is a year they lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round. When I looked at the numbers, it appears that the 2023 Bills, they might be a lot better, but it's hard to tell with 5 games to play when you're looking at like season-long stats, not knowing where the Chiefs will eventually land. But really the big difference, it seemed like, between the 6-6 Bills and the 11-6 Bills that went to the playoffs, Josh was leading the league in turnovers. He had 18 interceptions in 2023. Before this stretch of games in November, Mahomes had like 3 picks, I think, going into Buffalo's game, maybe 4. And he hasn't even turned the ball over a bunch in November. Like, it's not turnovers. Honestly, if I had to point to anything that the Chiefs have consistently done wrong that have hurt them this year, is penalties. Sometimes their own misgivings, sometimes refs doing weird stuff. But like, I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time making heads or tails of like why they are 6-6, because I guess we're back where we started. They always seem to find a way to lose.
And yeah, I'm looking at this 2023 Bills team, and I'm all 6 of their losses by 1 score. So it looks like they were 2-6 in 1-score games that year. It's funny that you point at the reason being Josh Allen turning the ball over too much. Just because I think we almost have the opposite problem. Like I think the Chiefs as a whole are being too safe now. Like I kind of wish they were turning the ball over more. This is an idea I think we kind of floated around last week. But I think like down the stretch of that Cowboys game, like we saw a version of Mahomes that is the Mahomes we've been needing to see this season. Like we need him to stop being safe. I have one note in my phone here, which I'm going to read. I typed this out Thanksgiving night. I got super drunk that night. Spoiler alert, duh.
When you say being safe, are you talking strictly about like these tight window throws that people have been mentioning? Just
Mahomes reached a point in that game. Okay, it doesn't matter. We need to score. And even with losing Josh Simmons and Jawan Taylor in that game, we still drove down the field and scored. I wouldn't say at ease, but we still drove down the field, and it was like, this looks like the Chiefs team of old. Just like, we need to score, like get on our backs, let's go. And Mahomes looked great, and the offense looked free, and it was just kind of like, where has this been? And it was kind of just like, because they're stuck in this 2023 mood where they need to be safe and efficient, and all this. Let me just read this. I want to read this note so I can just capture my mood from that night. I don't think Mahomes is broken, but I think he needs a recalibration. He needs a tune-up. Hey, you used to light the world on fire. Go be that guy again. Game manager Mahomes won a fuck ton of games, won us a Super Bowl, and got us to another. It worked, but that era is over. That ain't what we need anymore. We need the Dragon Slayer Mahomes. We need to fuck teams up. We need bury him Mahomes. We need over my dead body Mahomes. We need drag his balls on the ground Mahomes, not safe, meticulous, efficient Mahomes. Not anymore. We need a killer from the first snap. You used to come into games looking to make a statement, looking to put it on a team. That's what we need. And I don't think the Chiefs will be great again until we see that version of Mahomes. Kind of Mahomes is just kind of a placeholder as the Chiefs in general. I think you could, put Andy Reid in there too. And just a general philosophy that they just used to come out and be a different team. And you can tell that they aren't that team anymore. And I think they just kind of had to bottle it in to kind of They had to change their team to win with what they had, which is all the credit in the world. Like, I mean, we've poured over complimenting that team for doing what they needed to do to win that season. It didn't make any sense that they were able to win a Super Bowl in 2023. So I think they deserve all the credit for world in that. But I think they've kind of been stuck in that hole now that like this is the best way to win. And I just don't think that it is anymore. Like, I think they need to get back to slinging the ball around. Mahomes not caring if he's going to throw some interceptions. Quit worrying about being fucking efficient. Don't throw a 4-yard pass on 2nd and 20. Throw a fucking 24-yard pass on 2nd and 20. Like it's just, it's a style of team that I think they can get to, because we've been saying they haven't been able to do that because they didn't have their weapons and they didn't have the line, but they have both of them now. And they kind of proved in this game that they could do it even despite the line. Like, and they didn't even always have the greatest line when they were lighting the world on fire. But I just think the Chiefs need to get back to that. And it's hard. I don't know if they can do it in season. And we've heard them talk about like getting back to having fun, which is kind of leaning into this, but I'm not really seeing it. And I think the Chiefs need to get back to that mindset.
I said something to that effect. I don't know if it was before the Colts game or coming into this one, but like we need, Baba Yaga again. We need the guy that, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper or whatever, like Mahomes that was inevitable. Needing that version of him for sure. What I find interesting as you were talking about it, and I was trying to I wonder why they're doing that. Like, where did the mentality switch come in from being this light the world on fire into a team that's so much more conservative and ball control and stuff like that? And I think that a lot of it, we would talk about what the defenses have done in order to change the style of play, but also I think maybe to put it another way, where you're talking about what we need from Mahomes, there are a lot of people that would just say that the team needs to be the aggressor, and I think that in a lot of ways, it's almost like over the last few years, all the Chiefs have done is try to defend, and I'm using that in a very, very figurative sense. They're defending championships. They're defending the way that they win. They're defending their reputation. They're defending a dynasty, whatever. But it's, we were a defensive team for sure in 2023. And have kind of, tried to lean into this defense and play a lot different offensively, complementary football, you could say. And I think as much as you talk about what we need from the offense, I think that we need an aggressive balls to the wall, blitz the lights out of anybody. I don't care who you are. I'm going to send everything I've got at you. And when I don't, it's only designed just to confuse you style of play from this defense. Because, man, if you want to look at an individual player that I feel like is almost like a ballast point for the Chiefs defense, the way that this guy's season has gone is how the whole defense's season has gone. The poster child for all of that right now is Jaden Hicks. Because, buddy, last year, Jaden Hicks, as a rookie, led this team in interceptions and was taking, guys' heads off as a defense. He was crashing down, making huge hits. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's where some of the Justin Reed comparisons were coming in, was how physical he was at the catch point and against running backs. And Jaden Hicks completely freaking did not even make an attempt on that tackle on Javonte Williams, and everybody got the ick out of it. And that's even despite the fact that after the game, if you watched, one of the Schwartzes showed Chris Jones completely abandoning the gap. And he's like, here's where the problem in the play is. And Chris even is like, oh, that's my bad after the play. You see it on the field. It still doesn't matter because Jaden Hicks should have just lit that dude up. If it was last year, he would have been doing that. And I don't know if it's because he's been given more. There's more on his plate. And so he's just thinking too much instead of being able to play free in the 20% of the snaps that he was getting as a rookie. But like, man, like that defense, it's like they're so hesitant sometimes. And I get that, like, they need to retool some things, particularly on that defensive line. I think it's asinine that because the Chiefs have had trouble getting to the passer, that people are sitting here right now wanting to talk about how George Karlaftis's contract is a problem. Like, people are mad. All right. People have had a rough week. And so I'm not trying to judge, but like some of the things that people are now bringing up about the way the roster's constructed and whatever, like, guys, I don't think it's the time. But regardless, I just
and if you want to get mad, then get mad at the Omenihu contract and the Dana contract and the Felix first round pick. That's in the
$45 million that Chris Jones is carrying. And don't get me wrong, Chris Jones probably earned that money years ago, and that's the way the NFL contracts typically work. But he went from like top 5 defensive tackle. Even if you're just looking at like one way to rate guys, Chris Jones was top 5 in PFF rating like 5 or 6 years in a row, and he's in the 50s this year. Like, it's been a precipitous drop. All right. And I'm not even mad at him. He signed a contract that we put in front of him, but it's bad money. Right. And so
I still think, he's had a great last couple of weeks. I don't remember where.
Sure.
He probably fucked up this week, and I don't even remember if he had a good game.
He's like one of the 20 highest paid players in the league, probably, and he's not in the top 50 at his position. It's bad money. That's just where we're at, right?
Can you imagine this pass rush right now without him? Dak would still be sitting there in the pocket today because he'd just be running out the 15-minute quarter clock with no pressure.
I do think before we go, you talked about like needing more from Mahomes, needing that offense to be more aggressive. I think that you need the whole team to be more aggressive, and where we're going to find ourselves. The Chiefs are at a point now where, like, I think if they lose another game, they're not mathematically eliminated, but it's really going to feel like it. It's really going to feel like it. Have we ever seen this team with their backs against the wall like this? Have we ever seen Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid with their, they have no margin for error, and I hope we get the best, right? But if they really are just tired and they really are just a Super Bowl hangover of a season and all that, they came by it honestly. It's been an absolutely unbelievable run that I am so grateful for. And I'm not in any way saying that it's over, but I don't think I have the anger that others do, regardless of how the rest of this season goes, because having one down year after everything that they've done, it's amazing they didn't crash before now. And it's amazing that they're still, in it right there, down to the wire. It's remarkable what this team has been doing for the last few years, and I think they're maybe just running out of gas.
Yeah, and also like some lost mystique. Like, teams are not scared coming in.
Yeah.
Even last year, even like the last year, they're kind of carried by like the refs mystique. Like, I think with all that we had to endure listening to that all season, I think it actually helped that team up until the Super Bowl, at least, because teams were afraid of it. Like, I can't get over the Texans coming into that playoff game. Just, okay, guys, we know we're not gonna get any calls. They're gonna get calls. You just gotta deal with it. And like, having that attitude, having that in the back of their minds before going into battle is just a complete loser mentality. And I think it hurt teams, and it helped the Chiefs. Like, they that was part of their mystique. Like, okay, you're scared of us and the refs, and it's just like you're playing more than that. But I mean, before that, it was, changing the way we play the game to be able to compete against the Chiefs, which sure, it helped some teams because, they went for more fourth downs and that kind of stuff. But it was still, we need to change the way we do things to be able to compete with this team because we know what they can do. And I don't think you're really getting that anymore. It's just kind of the Cowboys just went out there and like, hey, our dudes are better than their dudes. And that's what they did. They leaned on their dudes, and they had CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, and they beat our dudes, Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, who we like. We shouldn't be shying away from that. Those are our dudes. We got to rely on those guys to win. And they just got their asses whipped on Thursday. And that's how you lose a game.
It was kind of Bengals-esque in that way, where it's like, not exactly, because Spags against the Bengals was basically like the 25-yard down the field outside the numbers throw is what I'm going to give you. It's the lowest percentage throw on the field. Let's see if you can do it. And Pickens he was dominant on some slants and stuff. You know, it wasn't just like deep throws or whatever, but they basically just leaned on size, you know, and Watson, I think, is a much better physical matchup. That's pretty obvious just in terms of the height, weight, speed element of things. But it's still, I found myself every time that McDuffie would get beat, I was surprised that he got beat, but also irritated that he was in coverage against those guys. Both of them are bad matchups for him. And hey, yeah, he's going to make a ton of money. And no matter what your size is, if you're going to be a number one corner, you're going to have guys that are bigger than you or whatever. I don't know. I'm like, why isn't it Watson and Williams and you got McDuffie in the slot instead of, you know, Connor played a lot of stuff in the slot. He got beat up, man. I don't know.
No, you said Williams. I thought you meant Joshua Williams.
No. Hilarious.
Whoa. Have we gone back? Yeah. We need Joshua Williams.
We got to keep using Nolarius because I don't know where he is. All right. Like I'm losing my mind trying to find this guy on defense right now.
But that's just, the defense is just, I don't think like the talent is there. I mean, it all starts with the pass rush up front. If they're not going to get home, you're going to have to bring pressure. And if you do that, you're not going to be able to double team these guys. You're going to have to lean on your studs to win their matchups. And they weren't able to. So what are you going to do? You're going to sit back and then not get pressure and let Dak just sit there and then slowly pick you apart, or get aggressive, which, I had some numbers here on Dak against the blitz, 15 of 19 for 190 yards and the pick. So you got the one pick. That's enough. But he shredded 15 of 19 for 190 yards. He was pressured on 7 dropbacks and 12 times overall. Pressured 12 times, completing 10 of 12 for 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the interception without taking a sack. That's just on plays where he is pressured. Like, that's where we actually got to him. And he's still going 10 of 12 for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it's just, we just didn't have answers against them on Sunday. They saw holes that they could attack, and they did. And even when we got stops, we had the one stop. The Pickens had the drop. That was like our one stop. So that was fortunate. But then when we did get stops, it was just, they just flagged us. And that was what was so frustrating. It was like, we only have a few plays that we can win here. We're getting our asses kicked. So the plays that we do win, I don't want to see these bailout calls. Like that's what made it so frustrating at the time.
A couple of them 5-6 seconds after the play is over. I'm standing there, like, there was one where it was like you had no conviction about throwing that flag. You just stood there and thought about it and thought about it and thought about it and said, yeah, why not? Like, I can't
remember. Well, I kind of saw a clip of one on McDuffie. I remember I had blacked out at some point from rage. If we want to get to sports nuts.
Yeah. Let's do some sports nuts.
Oh boy. What a sports nut, huh?
You want to lead us in the sports nuts this week, Dirk?
Sure. I was getting upset during that game. It was kind of a perfect storm of season on the line, game not going your way, a few drinks in your belly, and the one thing that I can't handle in the NFL, which is watching pass interference over and over. I was thinking of this game, and like, there's a few different games that came to my mind that were reminiscent of this one. The Tampa Bay Super Bowl, which turned into such a disaster that long-standing doesn't hold much. But at halftime of that game, I had to literally walk around the block twice just to calm myself down. That drive before halftime where it really went from 14-6, which is still a very manageable game, to 21-6. I still look back at that and I'm just like, if they just don't get those calls, maybe things change. But, you get your ass kicked so bad that, it's hard to point fingers at that one. 2021 Chargers game. I don't know if you remember that. Chargers go for like a 4th down, and they had gotten a few pass interference calls already and just get a joke of a pass interference call on that 4th down. It was one of those where like they shouldn't have gone for it. It was like, what are they doing? The Brandon Staley days early on in the season. That one sticks in my mind. And then a 2017 Raiders game. It was a Thursday night game. I hope some of you remember this. You look like you don't, but they got down to the 1 yard line and then had like 6 different snaps, and it was just continuous defensive holding, illegal contact, defensive. I think they ran 4 plays from the 1 yard line, all 4 untimed plays. Yeah. It was just like, what am I watching?
The Jets one was bad too. That eventually ended with Marcus Peters getting 50. Yeah. That one was another like 3 or 4 from the 1 plays.
Yeah, that would have been like within the few weeks of the Raiders one too. So that even added. But that one got to him. Marcus Peters enough to do whatever. Put the shoes on the wrong feet, which is still a report that
wasn't that he thought he got ejected, but he wasn't actually kicked out. He's like, I guess I can kick that. And then he came running back out, didn't have his socks on.
Yeah, didn't have his socks on, but somehow people said his shoes were on the wrong feet, like he's a 3-year-old and doesn't know how to put shoes on. I don't know how that could be. But yeah, it's just it bothers me because it's just unearned. And it's just it's sometimes it's called like that and sometimes it's not. And I can handle bad calls. I'm not like a guy who needs like perfection from refs. But it's just like that one specific. It's such a harsh penalty that you just cannot call it. It's just an easy fix. Just don't call it as much. And so that was very frustrating. I was losing my cool on Thursday. Whenever.
Oh, I could tell it was still lingering a little bit for NFL Sunday. There were some egregious calls. The one that was way out of bounds, in that Colts game.
It was so bad I had to break my Twitter silence to put those out there. Like
I did see you like on one of the Puka plays. You're like, and guess what? If he would have just run into the defender, what
do you want to see? Do you want to see cool highlight plays, or do you want to see a guy? And receivers are the problem is receivers are getting good at this. So what they'll reach out, they'll pull the defender in to create the contact, then flop once they get the contact, and I feel bad for the refs out there because it looks like pass interference a lot of times. When you're looking at it slowly, it's the receiver initiating everything. And then it's just, okay, here's 50 yards in a league where it's getting increasingly harder to get 50 yards. Like we're leaning into run game and defense now. We shouldn't be just handing out 50 yards like free candy on Halloween.
Well, and we mentioned in terms of the differences between Chiefs and Cowboys, there was 5 first downs on penalties for Dallas, none for the Chiefs. And the difference in yards, the Cowboys got flagged 7 times. I think it was for 50 yards. The Chiefs got flagged 11 times for like 130 yards. Huge disparity just in terms of the ground covered on some of those penalties because they're downfield throws,
Well, if you see the tweet, I was doing everything I could to stay off Twitter, but I actually Googled pass interference. I think that's where I was. I was like, I'm not getting on. I can't let this ruin my Thanksgiving.
Google
if I was like, if I open up Twitter, I'm gonna instantly get mad, and I'm going to Thanksgiving dinner. I immediately have to leave after the game to go to a Thanksgiving dinner. So I don't think I said a single word in the car ride. It's like a 45-minute drive. I don't think I said a single word, just sat there and I had to like save up. I'm like, I gotta perhaps.
There was something on the speakers. Did you have something playing?
Music. Yeah, there's music.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Cause like if it was just silence.
Oh, could have been. Should we pull her Dirk over here to see what my get a glimpse of my mind?
Her Dirkness on a scale of 1 to 10. How awkward was this car ride to Thanksgiving dinner?
I asked her if she wanted to be on. I think she has her headphones on. She's ignoring me. Anyway, I did see. So when I Googled pass interference, I just needed like a slender little thing. The Chiefs committed 5 pass interference penalties in the second half, 4 on defense, 1 on offense. Jesus Christ, the offensive pass interference might have been the worst of all of them. That's the most pass interference penalties by any NFL team in the second half of a game in the last 35 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun stat. You like that one?
The fact that it didn't even cover a couple of the calls against Simmons that made absolutely no sense, too. I mean, it wasn't just pass interference. Like, the flags.
We do have Tony Dungy on the case. Tony Dungy seems to hate pass interference as much as I do. Former cornerback, makes sense. He gets it.
Yeah.
Former Chiefs defensive backs coach, actually.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's it. I'm done. That was my mood. I was pissed.
Yeah. I don't really have a sports nuts this week. I asked rhetorically how people were still watching football over the weekend.
I gotta say, I was mad at football, but I didn't have the balls to just sit on NFL Sunday. I had the chance to go play volleyball and just not watch it. And I'm like, could I be mad enough at the NFL to just skip a Sunday? I couldn't do it though. And I was mad at you.
I know the value of a good break, particularly when it comes to something that I pour as much of myself into as I do the Chiefs. But man, it just felt like football kept coming over the weekend. Game on Friday, games all day on Saturday, games all day on Sunday, and then today, snow day, another football game, right? Like it just never stops.
I mean, at least you got to watch the Broncos get all the calls and win down the stretch of that one.
Yeah, that was great. Man, if Washington would have gotten that 2-point conversion, I just would have been so happy.
On a Chiefs staple too, a Chiefs staple play with.
I don't know. I think I'm not on like football hiatus, but man, it's the Chiefs they really have spoiled us over the last few years. I've gotten soft. This season sucks. I hope and pray that the Chiefs figure it out. My ultimate confidence in the team is not broken. But man, if they miss the playoffs, it's gonna really do a number on the overall like psyche of they'll just figure it out. They always do, and I think that we're already kind of in a spot where people are questioning that. But that's, I don't know. That's where my sports nuts are right now, is just hoping that dream is not shattered, because a fully healthy Mahomes season that ends in not going to the playoffs would be hard to make sense of.
Because it's like my least favorite tweet out there is like, can't believe they're wasting a year of Mahomes prime. And I always there was nothing dumber to be tweeting, because we're going to the Super Bowl every fucking season. So it's how are you wasting a season when he's had the best results of any quarterback through however many number of years you want to say. Yeah. And then this season it kind of played out that they had wasted a year of Mahomes prime.
Man, it sucks. It really feels like
Hopefully not.
Particularly on that D line, man. It's like Aminahu's a whiff. Dan is a whiff. In terms of the contracts, neither of those contracts seem to work out.
Which just goes when you're paying a quarterback this much money, like it gives you much less wiggle room. I mean, you go back to the 2019 Chiefs, we're paying Sammy Watkins way too much money. We have Anthony Hitchens on a terrible contract, but it doesn't matter because we're paying Mahomes peanuts. And so you can overcome those things. You can't make those mistakes if you're paying Mahomes, $50 million a year, but now he's getting later in that contract, right? I mean, his cap hit next year is supposed to be like 70 something million. Like, obviously they're going to change that, but it just goes to show that it's catching up. Hey,
let's see if the Chiefs can catch up to the playoff field. It's going to start on Sunday night, hosting the Houston Texans. Looks like an awful matchup for the Chiefs. But will show us a lot about who the Chiefs are and who the Texans are. It's going to be a big, important game on Sunday night.
But we did come through. We had the same situation. We played him last year with Wanya Morris at left tackle. and completely controlled the game. So a good litmus test to see how this Chiefs team stacks up against last year's team.
It'll be really interesting to see, too, if Juwan Taylor plays, then you have to imagine that Jalen Moore will be in the comfortable left tackle position. If Juwan Taylor doesn't play, I think they might actually switch from where they were. They put Jalen Moore at right tackle because he is their first backup. But then when Simmons left the game too, and they kept Moore on the right, I think that they were thinking about next year. If they want to think about the best thing for this team on Sunday, it is Jalen Moore at left and Wanya Morris at right. And I don't think it's particularly close. Like, that is where those two guys naturally play their best football. And so that would be my expectation. If they
I kind of remember Wanya having some decent games at right tackle and then some really bad games at left tackle. I would need to fact check that, but
I think he had the one good game at right tackle, good in the blowout against Denver when we got crushed, but his tape was good, but he had played left throughout that season most of the time until Pat said it's the same move and Wanya got pulled. I believe that was the Raiders game.
Yeah, I think so.
Either way, this has been another episode of Amateur Hour. I am Ryan Scott Hall. He is his Dirkness. The Chiefs are 6-6. They got 5 games left. Let's see what they do.
Chiefs.